A lot of people have asked me what my favorite anime is, but not many ask what my first anime is.
Abre la puerta al paraíso y mira que hay tras el sol, tras el mar. Te diré dónde podemos ir, donde el mundo debe estar. Yo sé el lugar.
Yeah, I'm not so sure many people would find the answer very interesting though, because my first anime was about mermaids who sung songs to mildly piss off their enemies, and it was called Mermaid Melody Peachy Peachy Pitch. More like bitchy bitchy bitch. Before I get into the anime itself, I must tell the story of how I got into this anime in the first place. It was a wonderful summer evening and my sister was watching the anime on TV, and I just walked over and asked, "Why are you watching this?" And she replied, "'Cause I like it." Mind you, she only watched like the first 5 minutes that she had ever seen of the show. So I sat down and watched as well because I had nothing else better to do, and then it took a scene where one of the characters were bleeding to get me hooked. Well, that and 'cause pretty ladies. Back then, I somehow overlooked the ungodly facial proportions. Honestly, the only good thing about this anime is that the music is unironically a bop sometimes, and I can't help but love the instrumentals.
Aquí podemos ya contar la historia que te fascine, siempre yo voy a intentar. Tómame de la mano y ven, puedes tu sueño realizar. Yo sé el lugar.
Man, am I glad I got into Code Lyoko after this. Now onto what the anime is basically about. Basically, this mermaid Lucia, who I always called the yellow one, escaped from her friends and family to live among humans. Also, she has a penguin thing named Hippo, and I'm not gonna lie, he's pretty damn adorable for a grouchy, sour little demon. So Lucia goes to school and meets Hannon, the blue one. Surprise, surprise, she's also a singing mermaid thing. Turns out long ago, the yellow one saved some kid when she was young from either a sinking ship or just waves that rocked the ship. I can't tell. Anyway, this boy, we will eventually get to know him as Kaito, but we're gonna call him Labyrinth Villain Kite Man. He's also the love interest of the yellow one. He's a bit of a pervert and almost sexually assaults the yellow one. Nonetheless, she looks past his creepy ways and loves him anyway. Also, there's this weird thing where if she tells him she's the mermaid who saved him, she dies, turns into sea foam. I think that's just a classic mermaid thing that they put in there. Back to the story, the yellow one befriends the blue one, then the blue one moves in with the yellow one after they kick ass together, then they meet the edgy green one. How they meet is a whole arc within itself. The yellow one wanted to welcome her new green classmate by making her a friendship ring, but then she gets caught by a yellow creepily staring at Kite Man for some reason. Literally, what she did was walk up to him, get really close and just stare at him. I don't understand how this is a normal human interaction. Yellow catches her and thinks they're kissing and gets upset.
¿Erina y Kaito se estaban besando en la azotea? Lucia, ¿no te habrás equivocado? A lo mejor solo parecía que se estaban besando. Se le habría metido una pestaña en el ojo o... ya sé, se estaban contando las espinillas.
No digas bobadas, Kaito no tiene espinillas, menos mal.
Eso ya lo sé, solo intentaba ayudar.
Yellow one then proceeds to stalk Kite Man to find out what happened, the stalking of which happens a lot in this show. This leads to her going to Kite Man's house, ends up fixing a button for him, and then Kite Man told Yellow what happened, gave her the ring, then she gave the ring to the green one.
Algo para ti. Toma. Espero que te guste.
Green one accepts the ring, but still isn't that fond of Yellow.
Mira que eres tonta.
So now the girls know each other now, and they just do normal girl shit, whatever that is. There's so much filler in this, I'm just gonna go over the main romance plot stuff, because it's at least a better love story than Twilight. So Yellow likes Kite Man, and so she does some weird love legend thing with candles. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that there's an evil version of Kite Man. Probably should have mentioned this in the first place. He is the main villain, and he has this liminal space castle under the sea where he hangs out with a bunch of evil chicks who like him a little too much, even though he kind of abuses them. He basically sends them up to the surface to capture the mermaids and kill love? I don't know. Like the whole show, these enemies would come up and disrupt something, and the mermaids would notice, and they would get into their singing outfits and just bother them, just piss them off with music. Anyway, so Yellow One does this candle thing, some enemy comes to blow out the candles, maybe it was her birthday, I don't know, and Kite Man goes to save it, and it builds up their relationship. So, this whole thing between Yellow and Kite Man is that Yellow wants Kite Man to realize that she's the mermaid that saved him, because, of course, if she tells him, she dies. So it's this whole game of hard to get where Yellow stalks and then cooks food for Kite Man and does all these things to gain his love. And, yeah. Yellow and Kite aren't the only relationship that's being built there, though. Blue One also has her eyes on someone of her own. There's an episode where Yellow One makes some food for Kite Man and they share it a moment, and then the next episode Blue One decides to make her own food for the one that she loves, because that totally is an original idea that hasn't been done on the show before. That episode is honestly kind of good though, not gonna lie. The Blue One makes food for her crush, does it by trying to cook food by herself in the middle of the night, then gets caught by the household. Yellow then helps Blue get her shit together because they somehow forgot how to cook since the last episode. They finally manage. Blue goes to her crush's house, breaks in because he doesn't answer the door. Turns out one of the enemies stole this guy's piano music that he wrote for a mermaid that he saw years ago. It wasn't even Blue One, but Blue heard the story, saw that she had a chance to get closer to her crush. I'm just gonna call him generic hentai protagonist. The enemy stole Generic's music, played it on some rock in the middle of the sea, and lured in the mermaids until, of course, they broke free and pissed her off with another song, which this time was actually a new one than the one they usually sing. After the whole ordeal, Blue goes to Generic's house in mermaid form and sings him a song to inspire him to finish or remember the song he was writing. Day is saved, love is back, and that was that. I don't know what it was, but this episode stood out to me, and I don't know, it was just kind of funny, and the song they sung was pretty good. I guess it's just the writing that I liked. Also gonna cut in here to say real quick, I've been showing progress of this review to my sister, and she says she doesn't remember anything about the show except for that one episode that I just went over. That's how powerful this episode is. The next episode was just bland in comparison, at least for me, as it was about Blue wanting to find a good model, but Yellow wasn't good enough. Then they found Green just being edgy on the beach, asked her if she wanted to be a model. She said no, but then some dude came in and forced her into it. This creep convinces Green to be a model. Turns out this guy picked her because she reminded him of someone he knew in his past. Probably her's a mermaid, though this wasn't confirmed. This episode was mostly about the Green One being edgy and brooding. This episode is more generic than hentai protagonists, but it at least gives more to ponder about Green's character. As the series progresses, you really get to learn more about the characters. There's actual plot being advanced, and it's not as cheap as it looks or as I remember it. After sitting through that episode, and then transitioning into the next, it finally happened. The episode that opened the door to anime for me. In a short summary, the three main characters went on some cruise to an island, and they heard about a magical treasure that was a ring that would grant them any wish. Of course, the main characters and the antagonists were looking for it. But when they got there, no one wanted to go with the Yellow One to find the treasure, so she went by herself with Hippo. Of course, they got lost in a cave. Hippo fell down a hole. The ceiling fell. Kite Man heard about the news somehow. He went to find Yellow. And then at this point, I got super nervous because the video was glitching out. Like at the time of the recording, the signal was freaking out or something on whoever recorded it. But other than that, everything was leading up to everything I was anticipating. And then it happened. The blood scene.
¡Oh, no! ¡Qué mal! Si me caigo al agua, Kaito descubrirá que soy una sirena.
¡Aguanta! Todo saldrá bien. Dentro de un momento estarás conmigo.
¡Kaito!
Kite Man had injured himself trying to rescue Yellow, and in the process he cut his hands. The floor opened up because the enemies in the other room were doing something. Yellow nearly fell, but then Kite Man grabbed her. However, his hand then started bleeding onto her wrist, and that was it. That was the scene. My sister only remembered that one other episode, but me, this was the only scene I had the most vivid memory of. I don't know what it was. I guess I didn't expect gore to be in this anime because it was so girly and wholesome and pure, and that's what got me onto it. I'm like, holy crap, this guy is bleeding. This is gore. This is fascinating. I'm sitting down to watch this, and then that's how I got into anime. Not only was this scene a pivotal moment for me, but for the anime itself, because Kite Man literally lifted Yellow out of safety with his own bloody hands, and you know, that meant he cared for her, and of course that just advanced the romance plot. The rest of the episode, Yellow reunited with Green and Blue, they sung a song, pissed off the enemy, and that was it. That's how I found my first ever anime. Oh, also don't worry, Hippo's fine. He found and used the wish ring to summon cakes. There's a lot more to the anime, but I think it'd be right to wrap things up there. To say I still unironically enjoyed this anime is something that needs a lot of context to be provided. There are many things I find cringy, but also other things I find funny, and maybe even cool, like some creative writing or the amazing music. Frankly, I wouldn't care to be judged for liking an anime that's meant for 5-year-old little girls, but it's the one I grew up with, and it never fails to make me feel nostalgic. It's pretty easy for myself to determine that this show is one of many reasons I have a bit of a feminine side to my personality, and probably easier to see why I got into Sailor Moon. A lot of people already think I'm in the closet anyway, so I don't really care. Opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. I won't deny that there was a time I watched this anime just to look at... Okay, I'll stop there. That's Mermaid Melody, my first anime, next to Doraemon, which came next into my life, and I loved it much more. And of course then came Code Lyoko, but those are other stories that aren't as interesting as Mermaid Melody when it comes to the things I've watched in my childhood. Mermaid Melody was unique, a total Sailor Moon ripoff, but to me, it's still the perfect summer anime to cringe to and have fun with. If this video does well somehow, I'd be willing to make a part 2. I'm pretty sure there's a time that Hippo becomes human, and of course they introduce more mermaids. This anime is a lot of fun to come back to, always brings those summer vibes, and brings you in on a great time. If you yourself are interested in watching or taking the soundtrack for a spin, you can actually find the whole series in a few different languages on YouTube, as well as the whole OST. Hope this video brought some interesting information or made you laugh. Have a good one, and remember to sing loudly, because that mildly pisses off the ones you hate.
Aquí flotamos sobre el mar azul. Déjate balancear por las olas como un tul. Un beso al viento mandaré para ti. Notarás, sentirás que esa brisa huele a mí. Porque no puedo acercarme a ti, aunque estoy a punto de rozarte. Quiero saber que tú sientes igual que yo y poder alcanzarte. Que te acerco y esta llave abre el cofre del tesoro.